Alright, I'm recording. And yes, I'm back in Satisfactory because this week has been so busy I don't feel like going into Darksiders 2 right now. The craziness. The craziness. Oh, and as usual, this is the Friday. I honestly don't even remember what is it that I want to do. Why do I have so many computers on? There is a reason I want to say it, I just don't remember what. Hang on, I want to go back. There was a reason, though. I do have a reason that I want to go back there. But, yeah, this has been a crazy week. I finished off and submitted 3 articles. I was doing them in parallel, so the fact that all 3 going out together, the 3 performance analyses, the fact that those all 3 came out, well, I submitted together is sort of inconsequential, but lots of work, and then it's like, oh, good, I can finally have some time off. But before doing that, obviously, I want to, because every time I work on something like performance analyses, I want to take the time then to, but every time I work on that stuff, I will go in and mess around with the scripts. With the scripts that I have for processing the data, and I did that. I did that so much, in fact, that I needed to, I know something I can show you. I decided to do a mini overhaul to them. At some point, I think I may go back and rewrite the series statistics, reprocess statistics and scripts, so that it is up to date with some of these changes, because I made lots of changes. Good changes, largely, but lots. Huh. Wow, so this is actually top. Alright. There. Zing. And that's fine. Wait. Hey. Oh, that's why I wasn't looking high enough. That is why I was so confused. There. And now this will go. So by the way, one thing that will be coming eventually, it's in the experimental branch, but I haven't touched that yet, are, so this is a smart splitter. Let me show you. So I can have it set up so that leaves go this way, wood goes that way, and anything else goes here, so I can grab it. Like if I accidentally just put something I don't mean to in there. Just manually stick them in here. Yeah, this is currently the bottleneck. I think I can do something with that. But they are for both the smart splitters, like what I was just showing you, and the programmable splitters, which are more expensive. I thought I had. Yeah, there's. No. There will be an option for overflow, so that you will be able to. I could have it set up where now an overflow will just always go into mainly one of those things, one of the awesome sinks that will, just dispose of it. So, like how I have one over there that's currently set up so that half... Oh, yeah, I'll quickly show you, and then get up to the other news. So I've got splitters set up here so that technically half, actually not half because of reasons I'll get into in a little bit, go into the storage and then half come here. I'd be able to set it so that with smart splitters there, only when there's overflow will be fed into here. Technically it isn't half though, because a trick you can do, I learned from somebody, is if you use a slower belt coming out, this will actually get fewer pieces than what goes here. But obviously we're on an overflow situation there. We're also in one here. And unfortunately I guess my... Wait, what? Oh, no, they are going by. They're just going by vague. in there. Anyway, I can show you one thing that I did do in here, and I did finish off the heavy modular frame construction over there. I'll show that, but one thing I did. If you try to grind up one of the tickets for this thing, you get access to that. And I don't actually want to drive it, so I just, like, gave it a stand here. But it is the Cyber Wagon. They Coffee Stain quickly made it as a joke after the Tesla truck announcement, whatever that was called. But absolutely indestructible, needs no further introduction. And I decided, you know what, yeah, I'll make one, stick it there. It's actually, as far as vehicles go, not really that great. But the square wheels are real. It does drive like it's square wheels. Don't think I have a reason to go. Although something I don't remember is if I did set that up so that now computers are being fed into an awesome sync when there's too many. I feel like taking a look. Alright, so what have we got for news? We have a little bit more information concerning the AM4 support situation with AMD. I put something in the notes there because I saw a little bit more information after I did that recording. Some GPU open news, the Foundry story that the Wall Street Journal had initially, and I saw a small update to that, but I haven't written anything for it because I have been busy. I really have been busy. Oh yeah, I definitely want to talk about the Unreal Engine 5 demo. But I also want to talk about, I'll actually do this first, the stuff with the Epic Games Store currently. So right now, there is an Epic Games Store sale going on. Okay, I don't have this split off. Alright, so I think I technically have those mapped. So I will... stick it here. Anyway, so the Epic Games Store news is that they've begun a new mega sale. But what is important about this is that the thing that makes it more important and interesting than usual is that, like previous mega sales, you got the $10 coupons. That if you spend $30 or more, sorry, 15 or more, why did I say 30? Do not know why. But if you spend that much or more, you get this coupon for $10. Well, you will get $10 off if you spend $15 or more, and you will automatically get a new fresh one for the next $14.99 or more purchase you make. Now, in order to get the first one to start this unending loop, you need to claim the free game. The free game in this case is GTA 5, specifically the Premium Edition. So, as you may be able to guess, the Epic Games Store servers were down for a while. Or at least partially down. I do need to power the thing. Now, fortunately, that seemed to resolve itself after hours of being inaccessible. But you can now claim it. I want to make sure I've got the alarm. Wait. That's not right. I want a splitter, not a... I think this... No. Yeah, a little bit further over. Autosave. No. Oh, yeah. No. there. Now that's aligned. Yeah, they add the ability that the splitters and merges will actually mount themselves to the things, but it doesn't. It's still a little wonky system to me, at least. Sure. I think what was happening there was it was mounting to the thing that I attached it to instead of to the splitter. Yeah, that's true. But now those will be going, which means that will always be powered, will always be taking power. Which I'm also a little confused. I thought, no, I do have all these going. Okay. For a while, I thought that I disabled some of them. Oh, but then I think I got it set up over there better, so that it wouldn't be a problem. Okay, you shouldn't be here. Where did you come from? Because it's like, I do have machinery. I understand why Coffee Stain decided to add in the whole enemies will respawn, but come on. Your limits, your restrictions on it are just not right. Because it's supposed to be, oh yeah, when it's near machinery that's going, they won't spawn it. It's like, I had that guy just feet away, well, no, like 6 meters away from them. I got all this here despite this. I mean, okay, those guys, those plants, maybe not a big deal, but that guy was walking around up here. Come on. Alright, so yeah, I talked about, oh yeah, and the GTA 5 with the Epic Games Store, if you claim it, it's the premium edition specific. I talked about in the various game news stories thing I put up today, Friday. But yeah, the Epic Game Sale, the Epic Mega Sale, some of the stuff's actually looking pretty good. Unfortunately, it's like everything there was like, oh yeah, that's a little interesting, because I have the less than 15, so I wouldn't be able to use the coupon. Or it's something I already have. So, like this game. I think, I'd have to check, but I think I got this for a lot less than what they're currently selling it for, just because it was part of that original mega sale that was just really good, and that's what. Oh, I should do that. Yeah. I got it like at the right time, so I think it was only like $10 or something, whereas now it would be more like 16 or something. And it is, for me, completely worth it. I've really, really been enjoying this game a lot. Let's head over and take a look at the thing I did. Alright, so done talking about that. The AMD AM4 support. So, I actually saw Ian Cuttress, Dr. Ian Cuttress of Anantech. He has started his own little tech tube kind of series called Tech Potato. Which is interesting, but he needs a better mic. He's a brilliant man when it comes to CPUs and such, but he needs a better microphone. Anyway, he talked about it, and his reasoning, his argument for how AMD has kind of screwed up in that they could have, if they knew it was coming, if they knew they would have to make this decision early enough, if they had done this, it would have eased things, which is have the X500 series boards, so B550, which will be coming out soon, and X570, which is already out. Basically, if those were AM4 Plus, they would have solved this. Because AMD, the original statement concerning support was that AM4 would be supported through 2020. Well, AM4 Plus, that's a different socket. It can support some AM4 chips, but it's if you want to have the Zen 3 based processors or later, you need AM4 Plus. And this is something AMD previously done. I mean, they've kept, until Zen, they kept the same socket for a long time. Like the original Phenom processors, Phenom 2, and the Bulldozer derived architectures were all on a variant of AM2, because it was AM2, AM2 plus, AM3, AM3 plus, and all of those were like functionally, well, shouldn't say functionally, physically similar. But later ones, they did have to change some stuff, so it had a DDR3 support. But yeah, it's basically, they've done something like this before. His argument was they should have just done that. But something I saw, it was Hardware Unboxed, I believe, that was specifically talking about it. I know they did say something. I just don't remember how much of it I saw from them, or maybe some other source I'm not remembering. But anyway, that this decision came from AMD and was unexpected. Like, not even board partners thought that this was going to be happening. They didn't have heads up. Which is important because companies like MSI with their B450 Max boards that have the larger BIOS chip on there so that it can, it'll be able to support larger BIOSes with support for more things. They're now in a little bit of hot water because they're not going to be able to support them. I'll put a gate. Because it's not like... See, AMD had released a beta BIOS to provide support for the Zen 2 stuff on B4... Is that B... No. On the 300 series boards. I don't remember exactly where the beta BIOS was, but basically they had done that, which meant then that, yeah, the code exists, so companies like MSI, Asus, Gigabyte, etc. could enable support for basically all of the current AM4 processors on the 300 series boards, but it was beta support, which meant that AMD wasn't responsible for any validation. It would be, and this is something I think Ian Cuttress explained as well, they would be the one, instead of AMD being responsible for when stuff goes bad, it would be MSI, Asus, Gigabyte, the motherboard manufacturers that made those motherboards. Which, hey, if you don't have any problems, that's fine. But it's also worth noting a lot of people did have problems. It's like people are forgetting the fact that no, that there were struggles with it. Just quickly, what I got here, that's making the iron ingots. This is making copper, but I have no use for it. I probably could set up to make pipes for me, but whatever. Concrete here. This is going up there for use, and this is just so I have storage here. But anyway, going back to the thing, the news with the chipset support. I think it was Hardware Unboxed that basically said that yeah, AMD just made this decision. They would not. The motherboard manufacturers weren't aware of it until it was made. So yeah, I mean, there's basically nothing that can be done on their end, because if AMD doesn't provide any of the software, like a new Agisa that would provide the support necessary, they can't make it. That's not in their purview. That's not something that they're capable of doing, so that's a problem. Well, that basically means that if we want this to change, people are just going to have to push on AMD. That there's going to have to be enough community unrest over it that AMD is like, okay, we will do something. Yeah. Well, hang on. Actually, no, I take that. I do like the idea of having access here, but we can do a little. And no, back up. Now, I just know that personally, I mean, true, I'm not looking to upgrade a computer, in part because I don't have the money to. But it's also, I have gotten in a mindset for a long time now, because of the whole, I've been unemployed, haven't had an income, of being satisfied with what I have and making sure that what I get when I get something will do everything that I need to do. Maybe it won't do it as well as I'd like it to, but it will do all of it. So that the people that bought B450 boards thinking, hey, I'll be able to upgrade it to the Zen 4 stuff. I'll drop in a Zen 3 right now and just, make do. It's like, that wouldn't even be how I'd approach it. That just mentally isn't how I work. Because to me, it's like, nope, I would get the B450 if that's what I'm going to be satisfied with. It's like, I don't need the PCIe 4, but if it is a, you know what, I could use it at some point, I would have gone to the X570 board. It's like, yes, it would cost me more, but it'll give me a feature that eventually I will take advantage of. And many of them are better boards in one way or another than the B450. So it's like, this isn't it wouldn't be a bad decision in my mind. So the idea of just, almost like gaming the system to just, hey, B450, it'll support another generation of processors, I'll just bank on that. It's like, okay, but it's still I would build that computer myself to what I need it to be, and then loss of that future compatibility, it's like, oh well, I'd be like, well, I have what I need, and if what I need didn't include the 3950X in that board, then it'd be like, I can always upgrade to that and be plenty happy. And legitimately, though, it's like, I love my 1950X, and the 3950X beats it in many ways. I may still have an advantage as far as memory bandwidth, though, because it's quad channel, but it still is for gaming and for a lot of things. I assume also video processing because of the higher clock speed. That doesn't seem to be as memory bandwidth starved as it could be. But for that reason, it's like I don't think I would even see that big a degree loss in performance if I went to something like that. It'd probably be the same or better is my guess, so I'd be perfectly happy. Of course, that being said, I also saw apparently there's a rumor that early samples of Zen 3 Ryzen 4000 CPUs have been shared with, the interested companies. And basically the rumor was that, yeah, these things are actually exceeding expectations. And the fact that these are engineering samples means that it could end up being even better. Where I think somebody was predicting that, yeah, it looks like this will not only beat Intel on efficiency, but will actually win on performance as well. Because right now, the new 10th Gen R, they can be better at, when it comes to, performance, but they're not anywhere near as efficient. Well, this rumor is that, yeah, Zen 3 is gonna hit it even harder. Okay, so yeah, I will get to talking about how I have that built up, but that's gonna take longer. This is gonna take less time because I noticed at one point it stopped working. I didn't have any rubber, and it's like, why? Oh wait, no, I had rubber. I didn't have any steel. It's like, why? Well, it's because over there, the refineries, they got full up of a material. I think it got full up of rubber because that wasn't being used fast enough, so it wasn't making the petroleum coke here that I'm using for the steel ingots. So I had to set up an awesome sink so they can take whatever isn't used, whatever petroleum coke is not used here, so that the production can keep going. See, now this is somewhere that definitely the smart splitter with overflow would be helpful. But that's full, and that's full. So it's not like I'm not getting enough into these. It's just, it would ensure that isn't taking anything that's necessary. It would be nice whenever we get, like, an awesome sink kind of thing that will destroy fluids as well. Like an awesome sink V2. I don't know. Alright. I'm just thinking, was there anything else we were talking about with that AMD news? And it's like, it is unfortunate that they won't be able to continue support, but it's like, realistically, we knew this was coming. This is when it's coming. The fact that it was a sudden decision, it sounds like, that is odd to me. Unless it's something like because a lot of people are exploding, and a lot of people are also saying that, oh, AMD's lying. That it's a completely disprovable lie, that it's not just BIOS sizes. It's like, okay, because they'll look at the BIOS values, it's like, that's only 11 meg, and it's a 16 meg chip. Okay, well, it's not going to be 16 meg, because I'm sure there's some formatting, so you can lose some there. But it's also, and people saying that, oh, there's zero padding in there. As in, it's just padded out to 16. It's like, okay, but you're assuming that the Zen 3-based CPUs, the microcode for those, isn't going to be extensive, isn't going to be large. It's like, what if that adds it there? And there's also the question of support. A BIOS that would support, Ian Couchus talks about this, just how many individual CPUs are supported by having all these different families in there. You're talking about, it's like currently I think he said it's over 80. It's like 87 CPUs supported by a single BIOS for AMD. If you add in Ryzen 4000, all of that, including the Zen 3 stuff, that's going to be pushing it, into past 100. That's a lot to manage, and that might just be a support nightmare. We don't want to put that all into one package, because if something goes wrong, where the hell, where do we find the problem? Making things that complex invites trouble. It is my take on it in part. But the idea has also been floated that what about using a more modular BIOS system, where like you have multiple BIOSes and it's just, oh, this is the CPU in there, here, we'll install that. Now, Ian Couchus did also point out in his video that Intel did have situations where single BIOS would be supporting over 100, but he also pointed out that was at a time when we didn't have UEFI, it was still new. So the like special graphics and such to the BIOS weren't there yet. So it's like AMD would need to leave some room open, because like MSI for the non-max B450 boards had to have a version that's like, if I want to have Zen 2 support, so the Ryzen 3000 series support on the B450 mortar that I would have a light BIOS. It would have reduced graphics there, which, fine, whatever. But I think it also had some features impact as well. I don't remember. It might be feature equivalent, but the UI is different. I don't remember. I'd have to look. I'm not putting a Zen 3 thing in there, so I'm not bothering with it. If I ever get a Zen 3, I may stick it in there, but... sorry, Zen 2, Ryzen 3000. So it's like, I'm not worrying about it. So it's like we already ran into the issue where 16 meg wasn't enough based on MSI having to make a light BIOS. So people saying that, oh, it's a lie, you can totally support all on there. It's like, we already know that isn't the case. Because we have this example where they needed to make the max boards to ensure support just to Zen 2. It's guess what? It's not a cheat here. It's not just, oh, they're trying to force us by new boards. That's not what's happening here. Your argument doesn't hold water because of what has already happened. But it would be nice if they were to provide beta support again at least. But it's also at some point, I mean, the people saying that, oh, it's just a money grab. It's like, well, I actually wonder how much money is AMD even going to make off selling those chipsets. That might be, more of a, the motherboard manufacturers might be making a lot more money off of that. I don't, it's like, I'm not necessarily saying that, I'm not necessarily going to believe that it's just a money thing. But I could believe it's just support. It could also be that, hey, we realize Zen 3, it's going to need some stuff that was going to offer certain features that's like, we cannot say we're going to support this on previous motherboards, and we don't even want to put the board manufacturers through the process of trying to get that stuff validated. Eventually there probably won't be, but there may be something to fully explain this, but for now, it is what it is. Alright, so I'm just going to move on now. The GPU open stuff. So this week, AMD... Oh, another autosave. There we go. AMD relaunched GPU Open, which they launched at was it 4 or 5 years ago? I don't remember. But they relaunched the site with a new design that, yeah, it actually does look a bit better, a bit more professional. Not that the other didn't look professional, but this is more of a, I want to find this piece of information, this story on there. Okay, I can find it more easily. But they've relaunched that, and every day this week they did something new. They released something new. The first, on Monday, it was 4 new Fidelity FX effects, which is a little confusing to say. One simple way to put it is this Fidelity FX sharpening, that cast sharpening, which I've seen some people just refer to the sharpening itself as Fidelity FX. It's not just that. It's supposed to be a family of techniques, of methods that could be used to enhance graphics. I believe they're also all supposed to be open source. I don't remember if that commitment was made for Fidelity FX or not. You can actually see a little bit of reflection there. Anyway, it's just the sharpening was the first release. Now we have 4 more, including stochastic screen space reflections, which seem pretty cool. So they a different way of handling like the reflections we see here. There's some there. We can see that reflected there. Just turning off the light help? Yeah, a little bit. That's supposed to be better performance. And it's also, I'm just trying to remember. It's based on an Intel method. Wait. No, I'm thinking of the ambient occlusion. The screen space reflections or something. Anyway. It's supposed to be more advanced, and it would be rasterization based, but it would be more advanced, so it would be more capable of handling reflections and perform better. So it looks interesting. There was also, I don't remember the name of it, but compute-based ambient occlusion. That also sounds fairly interesting. That is based on Intel adaptive ambient occlusion method. That, yeah, like I said, that actually sounds pretty cool. So it would enable certain aspects of it to be adaptive. So where you need more detail, it can put more detail. That's on the highest level. It had 5, I think, was quality levels. But one thing about it that was definitely cool, which is part of the reason I put it in there. Hope I'm remembering these all correctly. There's been a lot this week for me to think about. Is that it is compute-based, so you can actually have this run. I hope I'm remembering this correctly. That is the ambient occlusion, not a different thing. But it being compute-based means that you can have it run in the compute queue or in the graphics queue. So asynchronous computing on GPUs, you can have the graphics and compute queues go separately. So you can have compute done in parallel. So making this completely compute and allowing you to do that could really improve performance. So this is actually a very cool thing to see. So yeah, hopefully that will come to mean some cool stuff in the future. Yeah, I have that there, so I can grab single ones if I want. I ran out of power at one point when I was doing this, so I want to... Oh, yeah, that's right, though. I think I actually know what's going on there. Yep, that might be why I still had those. Okay. Take that. So yeah, I need to build up more power. I also want to start doing some more exploring and go out and connect the various geothermal sites so that I have more power. That's going to take a lot of time. Yeah, talk about the GPU open. They did do 2 things, though, that have some people upset, others concerned. I would be more in the concerned camp. But it might be actually a positive sign. So 2 of the things released with the new GPU open this week. Radeon Race 4.0, and a Radeon Memory Profiler? Is that the name of it? So Radeon Rays was initially Fire Rays under ATI Fire Rays. Basically, AMD's been doing ray tracing for many years. Quite a long time. I mean, since back when it was still ATI Fire Rays. Obviously, they don't have the fixed function, which I'm starting to refer to it more as that, fixed function acceleration for ray tracing. NVIDIA has that with the RT cores. But we've had accelerated ray tracing, hardware accelerated ray tracing for a while. With AMD on GPUs, where it uses the GPU compute hardware. So it's still hardware accelerated, as opposed to software accelerated, where it's just the CPU being told how to do things. So I'm using 3 different labels here. Software would be just software rendering kind of thing, where the CPU does it. Hardware, where there's hardware that can be tasked to do it, GPU compute. And then fixed function, where no, this is hardware specifically and specially designed to do this task. Fixed function will be the fastest. It's also in some ways the most limited. Part of the reason why I'm using these 3 definitions is the hybrid approach that was described in that patent for AMD, from AMD, concerning like having the ray tracing fixed function stuff built into texture processors. Because that's a hybrid software hardware support. It made me realize that, using the 3 ways of describing acceleration, makes it easy for me to envision how that works. So that's why I'm going with those 3. And what those distinctions are. So, under Fire Rays and Radeon Rays, you basically had software and hardware acceleration, not fixed function. With Radeon Rays 4, they have dropped OpenCL support, but it now supports DirectX 12, Vulkan, and HIP. I don't remember what the name of that is. Well, I don't remember what that stands for. I'm pretty sure, though, that's the project AMD had that's meant to compete with CUDA, but it's either that it is directly competing, or it's just a software that will convert CUDA code to OpenCL or even just C to run on an arbitrary GPU. And what's interesting about this is that at one point, this was years ago, this converter they were working on, in some cases it was achieving performance parity with CUDA, and at others it was exceeding. What is that? Just got a text. Okay. But anyway, with Radeon Rays 4, we have that support, but the issue that some people have with it is not open source. It's a binary provided. Radeon Rays 2, I think that's archived on GitHub and is open source. But yeah, some people are freaking out about that. One explanation, though, that would make sense for why it is closed source, and I kind of like it, because it really does make sense, is if, well, for one thing, there's just potential licensing issues. Like, they may be using code in there that they don't have full license to, so they can't make it open source, or it already is open source, but not the MIT license that they use, so they have to leave it closed source. But it's also possible, and I like this, it could very well be wrong, but it's still, I kind of like this idea, that AMD would have code in there set up for their hardware for their fixed function acceleration, which they can't let out yet because the hardware isn't out yet. They need to keep that secret. Of course, you then ask the question of, well, why don't they just have that not in there? Well, maybe they have places like how the Zen 2 Threadrippers, those were used by Hollywood before they were released, because this was a way to get basically early comment on it being used by professionals. Maybe it's something like that. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I am kind of hoping, though, that is the situation. It's also possible, I've seen some people put forward, that's just, it's not ready yet. They may need to clean up the code before they want it to be open source. But also the Radeon Memory Analyzer, which sounds very interesting for developers. It lets you see how... I just realized I need to go back. It lets you send in... it lets you monitor the stuff being written to memory, so you can also catch memory leaks. And this is for the VRAM, so on a GPU. So I could definitely see that interesting. There's a part of me that's like, ooh, I think I might want to figure out how to mess with that. But I also saw it needs the latest version of the drivers. It's like, I don't feel like updating drivers right now. Some of the other stuff that this was Tuesday, I believe, that they showed were patches and performance optimization guides for Unreal Engine 4. Because, like, this is an Unreal Engine 4 game that I'm currently in, but Unreal Engine has never really liked AMD GPUs. As I recall, one of the people at Epic, the developers of Unreal Engine, basically said many years ago that he thinks that NVIDIA is better, so that's where their focus had been. That was many years ago, so it's possible it's no longer the case, but it still is you do often see an Unreal Engine 4 game run better on NVIDIA than AMD, but there are definitely examples where it was well optimized for AMD, in part because AMD worked with them. Oh, I grabbed that. I need to grab motors back there. So yeah, it's kind of a weird situation. But with GPU Open now, they have this stuff released so that if you're working with Unreal Engine 4, you can come up with ways to improve performance for you. For at least the users that use AMD GPUs, they may also improve performance for NVIDIA GPUs. It's possible. But the other thing that, yeah, I probably should remember to do it earlier, talk about it earlier. Okay. Is that we now have a demo of Unreal Engine 5. And it's pretty neat. The two features that they mainly focused on, there were more in there that were at least talked about. Maybe they're also in Unreal Engine 4, but they were talked about. Nanite and Lumen. Lumen is a dynamic real-time, well, dynamic and it supports real-time. It's capable of being done in real-time. Global illumination system. Which global illumination is very advanced. Where the idea is it handles not only direct lighting, so that would be like the flashlight on the Explorer. I believe that's what this character is technically called. The Explorer's helmet. So that's direct lighting, but it would also be indirect lighting. So it's not dark right now, but if it were dark out and I were shining a light here, even though if I'm aiming up like that so no light is hitting the floor, the light bounces off and illuminates the floor, making it actually yellow, orange, to match that. That's indirect lighting, and this supports that, and is doable in real time. And they actually showed that in this demo that was being run on a PlayStation 5, I assume they mean engineering hardware, not fully functional, because we're so many months away, I wouldn't think that's set up yet. This is going a lot longer than I meant it to. But they actually showed, like, they could move the light and also turn off the indirect lighting aspect all on the system in real time. That is definitely neat to see. And I try to make a point of putting in the news item on this, that this is to help developers. This isn't just so that we as gamers get better graphics. This is also to help the developers, because you have to rely on so many different tricks to get good lighting in a game. And they can take a while to do. Like, I know a guy who works with Unreal Engine as sort of a hobbyist thing. He upgraded to a 1700X, one of the 8-core 16-thread Ryzen CPUs, because it would help with baking the light maps. And he talked about when he first did that, the difference was dramatic from what he had before. This dynamic lighting system would make that unnecessary. It would just be functional. The artist could be able to see what it would look like without having to do any of the special baking and such, so the special light baking right then and there. It would be very, very helpful. Oh, that's what the problem is? I thought it was I needed more of those. It's not. It might be that I need... Oh. Well, yeah, that makes sense. Alright, 45 per... I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. $180. I didn't need to look that up. Alright, so I'm gonna actually take that 200. So I have a little bit overhead on. Okay. Plus if you look, you'll see it's actually not full 200. So okay, that will take care then of these dips. Because what was happening was these things, that last one wasn't getting enough fuel, so wasn't getting enough oil to make enough fuel then, so some of these probably at the end were starving. And also, what is the flow? 36, 7, 15, 7. There should be enough fuel running down these lines. But it needs something to help get it there. I do wish these things could snap nicely on the pipes. Like snap onto the end of that splitter. Alright. Yeah, so it's actually increasing the flow rate on both sides, it seems. But anyway, that should help all the way down there. But yeah, so the lumen system definitely looks neat. And the best part, in a way, is one thing that I saw in the Eurogamer write-up on it, where they also interviewed a couple of the developers. One thing that was mentioned there near the end of the article. Oh, that's right, I actually have more set up over there. Okay, so I have enough... I should have enough fuel. Maybe I don't, actually. That tops out at 240. These need 45 per... Oh, that's right, I'm actually not even running these at full. It's a weird just how they line up for how much they produce and stuff. Alright, so turn that up. So I can comfortably do one more. So I think I will put one more down. But what I was saying was that at the end of the Eurogamer piece, it mentioned there that yes, Unreal Engine 5 will support ray tracing, but we're not showcasing that. Meaning that the Lumen system, I wouldn't be surprised if it... Oh, I wouldn't be surprised if it is something that would support the accelerated ray tracing, fixed function ray tracing internally. But what was being shown wasn't using that. It was being done with normal techniques, meaning Lumen shouldn't require the special ray tracing hardware. Which, to me, that's good. That seems like very good. I need to go back quite a ways. The other system, though, very interesting, and unfortunately this one may or may not require special hardware. It's hard to know until things come out, and even then there's going to be a lot of development yet. Unreal Engine 5 will be out as a preview in early 2021, and out as an actually released end of 2021. So plenty of time for development. This other system is called Nanite, and is, if it lives up to the promises they were making in the demo, is going to impact the games industry a lot. Because you also see other developers try to figure out how to do it in their engine. The idea is, what could I use as a good example? I mean, this game will work for it, I'm just a good specific example. So the model for the Explorer, I don't know how it was exactly made, but let's say it was made in something like ZBrush, which is something I've seen. I've never worked with it, I'm not a 3D artist by any stretch. But it was if it was made that those models can be tens of millions or more polygons, like these are professional artists' tools and meant for like movies as well, where yeah, we're not rendering these things in real time. I mean, we just need to finish rendering by the end of the day so we can use it in the movie. So in order to use a tens of millions of polygons model in a game like this, they need to simplify it. They need to remove a lot of those polygons, because there's a limit to how many can even be just managed. Don't even think about rendering, just managing it. Nanite gets around that. Nanite is a system that will, on its own, manage having a tremendous number of these. To the point, I think that they were saying that there were billions in original asset polygons, but in some of the scenes in that. But Nanite allows it to basically only stream in those it needs, so that you can use those cinema grade models and it'll just work basically in Unreal Engine 5 and be able to be rendered. Now, what else is neat about this is this management also has it handle level of detail. So I was seeing some details pop in as I get near it. That wouldn't happen anymore, because that distance isn't defined, and then the different levels for the objects don't have to be authored. So here, like, you can see how that changes. Those different levels, there, it's hard to tell. There we go. Those two levels might not have been programmatically made. Those might have been an artist went in and changed them. But we got this hard transition there between two visibly different things. Nanite would not need those separate levels made, and would also therefore be able to hide the seam that we were seeing, that transition. There was a seam between two levels. That could be a profound change for an open world game like this. But part of it sounds like, because we're talking, I mean, those, tens of millions of polygons models, they're not small files. That's a lot of data. So even though Nanite doesn't necessarily isn't going to provide all of them to the renderer, it still needs to know all of them. So it sounds like it will be leveraging, they specifically were working with Sony, but I assume the Xbox Series X will also be able to handle it with their, both the Series X and the PlayStation 5's new very fast NVMe drives and special technologies built into them to be even more efficient. Which means then that potentially slower drives will see it on computers, like I think I have this installed on a hard drive, may not be able to keep up. So we could end up seeing a problem where some PC games using Unreal Engine 5 and Nanite might look visibly worse, depending on how it's handled, though. Because it's like, okay, yeah, it's true that, like, right now, I'm using a hard drive. I'm not using... I don't have this on the SSD I have in here, or on the NVMe drive, although I probably... Well, no, I don't want to put it on the NVMe drive. That's just the boot drive. And I want to keep it as just the boot drive. Is that the right height? Notice. So... Nope, I put that in the wrong spot. So, like, if it were used for this game, I would not necessarily be able to take advantage of it because of the drive. Or at least it wouldn't be loading in as many polygons as it could on, say, PlayStation 5. But I feel like there's a few things to keep in mind with this, is that how much of that streaming is having to occur in real time? Because remember, this was a tech demo, so they're probably going a bit over the top with some of it. So it could be that in an actual release game, nah, the streaming isn't happening that... Oh, man, I was right the first time with the height. But it's also, I have 32 gig of system RAM in this system. The test system has only 16. Yeah, I know, it's so little. But it's also both this system with the RX 580 and the test system, which actually currently has the GeForce 2080 in there, have 8 gig of VRAM. So, personally, I'm not too concerned at the moment with the idea of... There. With the idea of not being able to take full advantage of 99 on either system, because like there is so much high speed and reasonably high capacity storage for these things, for these two systems, that if you just properly manage it, I don't think I'm gonna run into an issue. I don't think I would run into an issue. Like, okay, fine. Maybe you have to do. Maybe it'll have to do more work in the CPU to figure out what should and should not be sent to the GPU. But it's still, that's something that can be done. So yeah, I'm not especially concerned. I just want to check. I think I'll put down another pipeline pump here. That should help with feeding that. So it's getting 10 in. I can turn this down. Now, hopefully, though, it will get enough. That's not going to be stalled, but it looks like it will. What I really need is just increase the output. Yeah, it's kind of funny though, people have been pointing out, it's like, these things have a max of 300 that it can output. This has a max of 600. We don't have any way to access all of it. Yeah, so, because I don't think you can just, like, straight attach, well, no, you can't. Just attach one of these straight to it. I mean, maybe you can attach that to one of the splitters, but that's like this, the system should be splitter attaches to that. I'm gonna just grab a power shard to stick in there, so I can push it all the way up to 300. But yeah, that basically is it though. I'll just do that much because I only need to get back to the base right there. Yeah, the nanite system is definitely an intriguing one. Especially since it's something that will actually release. There have been, I saw somewhere somebody point out, that there have been people claiming, previous engines claiming this kind of thing where it can handle atomic models, so like down to the atom stuff is defined. It's just, what is your sampling resolution, basically, or whether or not you see this. There have been claims of things like this for a long time. Are we finally actually going to see that in a real engine? Not just say, hey, we figured it out, and then nothing ever materialized. Maybe that'll happen. We'll just have to see. And I'm also curious about some other things with nanite, because they talk about giving it a limit of 1 triangle per pixel. Because, past that, you're not going to see a difference. It's like, yes, but there are subpixel details that you do need to respect. Because otherwise you have things like polygon popping. It's like that's where aliasing comes in. So hopefully that isn't... They were just shorthanding it to 1 per pixel. But in reality, it'll end up being... no, we'll actually let it go to more than 1 per pixel, so that we can handle anti-aliasing besides using a post-processing method. Although they did also say, and yes, it is appropriate to say it's like this, but not. They are using a temporal accumulation system with nanite, and I think it was with nanite and lumen. I think both. Unreal Engine 5 is going to use a temporal accumulation system. Unreal Engine 4 does as well, where the idea is you use information from previous frames to inform the rendering of the new one. This is something, the idea has been around for a long time. There's a concept of reprojection that I talk about in the Series Statistics, the Aliasing Adventure article, because it's one of the foundational things to TAA, temporal anti-aliasing. There's other things going on with temporal anti-aliasing, but that concept of reprojection or accumulation is old, and it's like from 2006. That's old. But it's been around for a while and is a very powerful one. So it is definitely neat to see it being used in more ways. And likely it is the concept being used, is my guess, more than the actual reprojection itself. The shading result reprojection of that was discussed in that 2006, I think it was 2006 paper. By that I mean it's not necessarily just reprojecting forward what the color is for this pixel right there, but it might be projecting forward other pieces of information as well. There. I'm actually going to push it up to that. There. 310. Because that way, yes, it is going to be more than this can take, but that way I basically know it should always be running at 300. So I don't mind if this gets backed up a little bit because of that. Because I figure it'll help with making sure that this stuff is always getting fuel. So this needs to be at 45. Full use. I might actually want to put down another one. Yeah, I'm gonna stick down another one. Alright. Actually, yeah, I would have to go right here. Yeah, it's not gonna be much here, but... Wait, is this going the wrong way? I might put that down facing the wrong way. Yep. Alright. Should probably have actually put it down early. But at 300 out, I could have 10 of those in theory, because I'm only using 30 in. So, yeah. The fluid dynamics in this game are not perfect. You know, got it. Why not? It's completely overkill and probably inappropriate, but what the hell. I got I got all the materials. I also have lots of other work to do, so I should just stop. It's annoying. Don't have what I need for all of that. Alright. Have to do some rewiring. Yeah, it's very annoying that the power lines are actually connect in a different location than you see. I think they're all connected. Did not help. Well, it's going up a little bit, but I needed to get to 45 for it to be useful. It looks like it's going to cap at 30. This should be a 210. So why is it not? Oh, I'm miscounting. But anyway, I'll figure all that out later. Like I said, I do need to stop. Although, hang on, let me... Okay, so yeah, at least adding that last one, it did take care of things, so... You know, yeah, let me... Since it does look like that. Yeah. Yeah, so it's not great that that one isn't gonna run at full all the time, but it is what it is. But yeah, I have additional, as I was setting this up so I could have more running down this way. So, wait, you guys are actually getting enough... Oh, neat. I didn't realize that these guys would be getting enough fuel. Well, I guess it does make sense, and I can put down more, but I don't desperately need it. I don't know why it reset there, but yeah. Alright. Yeah, I really need to stop, because I've really got a lot of other things to do. Oh. But at least it's easier to do this stuff than being in Darksiders. It's a bit more stressful. Alright, I gotta stop so I can get to other things. Ugh. Sorry, it's just I'm because I'm spending an hour in here and I really wanted to spend more like half an hour. But there was stuff to talk about. There was so much stuff to talk about. And I do also just enjoy Satisfactory. And hey, like I said, it's on sale. Let me... So it's $26.95 in the mega sale. With the $10 off, that'd be $16.95. I mean, it scratches that itch for me of just a sandbox going around building things in a reasonably chill environment. And you don't... Yes, there are enemies, but it's not... They're not like breathing down you all the time. So, yeah, I mean, if that's the kind of game you would enjoy, I can definitely recommend it. I really can. Alright, see you next week, I think. I don't believe anything's going to stop me from doing it again next week. So, yeah, goodbye.